Thank you so much. I'm Diana Shimkus. This is Encinitas Mindfulness Community. This is our beautiful Sangha here this morning, and there are many others who, for whatever reason, can't necessarily make it in the morning, who then um, join us later by recording and the notes, which I'm working hard to get out consistently. I do know most of you are getting them. If for some reason somebody is not getting them, and you would like them, please leave something in the chat for me with maybe a corrected email since they are emailed out. And so we are here now investing in some conversations on right noble path, uh, including wise view, which is the recognition that we are not separate. That would, for me, be a key to wise view, that we are interconnected, interbeing, inter-are, and that this precious life is impermanent. And then, as a result of those two truths, the third truth is that there is also suffering. Not because of those truths, however, often a misunderstanding, right? That because of the realities of impermanence, or because of the reality of interconnectedness, interbeing, no separate, fixed, permanent self, there is suffering. This is not true. It is true, however, what? That because of our resistance, because of our negation, because of our refusal to honor the realities of this precious life, we suffer. And consequently, as a result of the recognition of that, once we know that, we also begin to understand, consistent with the Four Noble Truths, that is the hallmark of wise view. Four Noble Truths. There is suffering. There are causes to suffering, called our refusal, our resistance, our denial, our delusion, our lying to ourselves and others about those truths. The Four Noble Truths say, but there is a path and a way to its end. And the fourth condition of that Four Noble Truths says there is, in fact, a definable, walkable, recognizable, livable path, which is called the Noble, then Eightfold Path, which we are reviewing now. We have done this several times before. What I have said before is that we are taking a slightly different angle. We're seeing if we can't practice these elements, these factors, these axes, rather than just conversation. Then on Saturday, after reviewing wise, aspiration, intent, resolve was one of the words I liked because of its embodied flavor and energetic feel, which is the direction of the heart. Anybody remember that conversation? The directing of one's heart now, not just mind, towards those realities. And then how do we um, set um, aspirations and ultimately also thoughts as a function of that towards connection, good, kindness. We then move towards right or wise speech. We decided on Saturday that wise speech was an inadequate languaging, that it should really be wise connection, wise communication, wise relating, something deeper, because the words, as we are going to review again today, are completely insubstantial before those first two wisdom factors of wise view and wise intent. In whatever you're saying, without those first two in the wisdom factors, will ultimately cause harm to you, to others, and both. So I'm going to just stop there. I just did a little quick review. That was sort of off the top of my head, so don't hold me accountable. There's probably lots I could have said there, but I want to stop and just see, with that very simple, what does this mean now for you? We're going to go on today to the second aspect. Well, let me say the first aspect of wise connection, communication, and speech, which is deep listening. I see it as coming before and after, during and after. So I'm going to stop there. We're going to spend some time on that today. Just tell me what, by chat or coming on to say hello. There's lots of us on Zoom today. Good morning, everyone. Let me know what your thoughts are about this.
My thoughts are, what would be a good practice then, since I feel most of us do not listen before we speak, right? Where I had this conversation with a coworker about, we're both of us had the same thing, that we're so worried about forgetting what we are going to say that we often just spit it out before we even let the other person finish. And it's hard to remember to stop, right? I'm trying to let a person train, and I keep because of the anxiety that arises about, we got to get enough info, we got to tell them the right thing. So, other than our daily practices, how that's so hard. It's just so hard not to really take that time before you spit out what you think you have to spit out.
Could everyone hear Libby? Yeah. Does anyone not know what she's talking about? Is there anyone who goes, I don't get this thing about just talking? Uh, uh, or planning? Yeah, we're laughing because of the truth of this. And so we had a practice last week. Does anyone remember the practice? We're going to add it onto it this week. So the practice of being aware and awakening to one's own reality of anxiousness, wanting you to get the info, so excited about the truth that you jump in with them, um, wanting to win, wanting to be right, wanting to be heard and seen, wanting, everybody catching the beginning of this sentence. And the wanting nature, the craving nature, the self making nature of mind jumping in. It isn't, I don't believe, often, and maybe often, most often, not intended to cause harm, often to another. It doesn't mean it doesn't or can't. But I think it's with that, Libby said it, like, I got to get in there or I really want to even agree with you. It's not even I'm in disagreement. It's yay, right? It can come from all those sources, but all of them in a certain level of hunger or craving. And we always know that the very best practice, but we're going to talk about them more later, is to simply recognize how we are and then gather oneself. And remember, we're using the 3 taps here in the vasovagal. Can I? Now, I did that a lot, I noticed myself. Silently, not always visibly. There were at least 3 occasions where I knew this was going to cause harm. That the person was going to go, what? What did I do now? What's the problem? Now you're protect. I understood that before I did it, but I did take the breath. I did tap my own heart from the inner, not just the outer, because ultimately this is most important. And without that, ultimately, the possibility for wisdom, love, compassion, and kindness to arise, even when it is present, it's there, right, is not likely to be communicated well, even when it's there now, because of the jump in, right? I do it, we all do it, I work on it, I forget about it. It's a continuous practice. And that's a part of its beauty, is that we can then use, can't we, deep listening and wise speech as one of the very first practices that becomes so visible, tangible, and present, like a gift from us to the other in a way that I think we have underestimated, right? Underestimated. So, what are other people's thoughts? We're just going to talk about this for another minute. Yes, it's hard. Yes, we forget. Then we remember. Sometimes we don't remember until we have forgotten often. This is just a part of the path. This is not the problem. This doesn't make you weak, deficient, or uncaring. We also have the momentum as we try to remember, don't we, of habit and karma.
I have a,
Condition.
I have a,
Somebody's coming on. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. It's Dennis, and it's as if there's this pool of deep calm, and you can throw pebbles in the pond all the time and create ripples. But then you realize after you take a deep breath or maybe tap your heart that I can back up. I can get silent. I can simply listen, and then that time there's this kind of mm, I don't want to say euphoria state, but there's just a deep knowing that can occur if you allow it.
I think this is all true. Thank you. I think it's all true. Silence is always available, often not accessed, but it is always here. And that little pause, remember, we're talking about it all the time, aren't we, Dennis? That little pause can be the very gate. It's called in the Dharma, the gate to the awakened state. And by the way, also always available, never diminished, never not present, never not there. We just can't access it because the task positive networking mind is several miles in front of our present mind body. That's right. And is it there? Yes. Can we access it? Yes. That we remember and know this is so important because then we don't have to name ourselves as deficient or as not worthy uh, of this path because we are, and it is possible. I see something in chat. This is Janine. Can anyone share tips for how they do this in real time? I feel I'm always tripping over myself and landing in dukkha. Yes, we are. I think we're talking about them, Janine, a little bit. One is just the knowing that I'm somehow in front of myself or have left or disconnected. It's a felt sense often. The other is awareness of, like, what am I doing right now? Talking, could I then, um, with intent, pause with the recognition, a little calming, a little stabilizing, and entering the body once again, and then really make a conscious decision again and again. It's a practice. It's a practice to open to understanding, I call it, to open to listening, to open to being with the other. And it is a fine practice, a difficult practice. I call it a keen, Keen practice because it is so sometimes subtle. Uh, Even when it doesn't look like we're in front of ourselves, we're often silent because we're thinking of the next thing to say, right? Rather than can I set wise view and then intend to deeply listen as the first act of communication.
Would you say that the practice is like our last week's practice? Our practice was to try to remember to where am I inclining the mind right now? That when we do those practices, when we can, like, even if I only remembered to do it once or twice a day, that, as I understand it, should be strengthening the ability to bring that up in the moment
More.
when I'm right anxious about getting info out.
That's right.
Okay.
And, also, Janine, what we know is true, isn't it? Is that we hold ourselves to the highest and most ridiculous standards. That we go, well, I didn't do it here, here, and here. And it is true because none of us are good at it. Uh, and uh, we tend to point towards, well, I didn't do it again, and I didn't do it again. But remember, this is the path to the end of suffering. To see where we are not doing it is skillful, is wise, is caring, and can be kind. If we do not, then beat ourselves about the head with the truth of our humanness, then we can say, oh, but I caught it. Okay, here I am. Now I can just come back into my own body, feeling my feet, my seat, taking a breath, holding myself, staying with myself. Remember that essential truth that Courtney mentioned a couple weeks ago, and that we keep that languaging, that we're going to stay. If we cannot stay with ourselves, what's the possibility for staying and being with another? Well, we know the answer. We know the answer. And we often try one or the other. We like shortcuts, don't we? Let's try one or the other. Can I be with you? Or I could be with me, or I could deep listen to you. Well, here's an interesting truth. You can't deep listen to somebody else if you don't know how you are. And the deep listening you offer has to come out of the wise mind and heart that says, I have something available for this. And if in fact you didn't, what might be the wisest thing is to do none of the communicating that might be available right now, but to say, I feel like I've just got to get back here first so that I can open the ears, cultivate a heart that can hear, and then listen deeply. And wouldn't that be meaningful to somebody? Which is, I'm not sure. I'm available right now. I can tell I'm distracted. I'm noticing I'm into this idea of making my argument, or which would all be considered deeply regarding of the other, right? Not of just oneself. Any other thoughts while I'm getting my notes?
Hi, good morning. This is Marie.
Good morning, Marie.
I love what you just said because I was in a situation over the weekend where I felt sort of wrongly accused and really wanted to defend myself and did a little bit and then realized this other person can't hear me. I'm not speaking skillfully and then decided to be quiet and now I've been quiet for a couple days while I'm while I'm figuring out what's skillful, what does something actually need to be said, or is it just my ego wanting to defend itself and I can let something go? And that's sometimes hard to figure out also to say something or not say something.
Yes. There is a rule for me, though, that I'll share with you, which is if I have left a situation in disarray, there is usually something to say. And saying nothing can unfortunately propagate the sense of abandonment, disconnect, avoidance, and disregard. And so, at the minimum, and I don't think it means we go back necessarily to where we left off at all, but to say, I want you to know I recognize my own defensiveness, and I just want you to know it wasn't with intent to cause harm, right? And I care about you at the minimum. And how we do that then becomes the art of being you, right? How we might do that. But does anything need to be said? Well, when left in difficulty, the answer would be usually. Usually, if nothing else, then I care about you, you're important, even if we didn't understand each other in that moment. So I want you to consider that. I do agree. I don't know that it's wise to go back to a conversation that we don't have skills for, is also true. And that may be wise to go, let's just leave that for now, um, until one of us, right, cultivates something to be able to share in an exchange, like, I'm ready to listen. I just want you to know I didn't intend harm, right? These are actually the most important communications. Most of the time, we're spending our time listening and communicating as if we were in court. All of my attorney friends know this, to win, to make the point, or to counter the point. It'd be lovely if we could all abandon that. And, we're all working on it. I know for sure I am. I realize how much room there is for growth whenever I open my mouth. Like, okay, well, not exactly. And it's not with judgment. It's just with what I recognize the result is, which is someone didn't understand or they perceived it a certain way. And again, remember, we have to be watchful, I think, here very especially of being critical with ourselves, because we're talking from the brain stem so much, right, honestly, of the time. Um, and then we just recognize that. Okay, so let me see, what can I do to make this a little more mindful, a little more heartful, a little more um, consistent with who I really am and want to be? And I think that's uh, ultimately what all of us want our speech to be, don't we? Consistent with who we really are on the inside. And I think that's a beautiful aspiration. Thank you. And so there was a couple things I wanted to do. Here's a few things from that I pulled from old notes. We've talked about deep listening before. This from Jeff Foster. Listen with your entire body. Hear yourself. Hear the other person. Hear the silence in between the sentences. Let the silence linger a little while longer. Let your words emerge from silence, not nothingness, so don't confuse it, and return to them. Friend, in silence we truly meet. By Jeff Foster. We get that sense, don't we, that the spaciousness, often defined in communication as silence, but it's really spaciousness. And it's an active spaciousness, isn't it? It's a holding together something. It's not nothing, right? It's not nothing. There is no emptiness. There is this complete understanding. And then we begin to understand all of the Zen koans. that say things like, it is in the silence that we are completely integrated, whole, together, right? Because there is nothing in its interruption, no misunderstanding, no word. There is just this beingness that we share. And then how do the words reflect that understanding? This is a beingness we share completely. And then there is something from a gentleman named Jeff Fox, and I had forgotten this, so I'm glad to resurrect it this morning. When someone deeply listens to you, it is like holding out a dented cup you've had since childhood and watching it be filled up with cold, fresh water. When it balances on top of the brim, you are understood. When it overflows and touches your skin, you are loved. When someone deeply listens to you, the room where you stay starts a new life, and the place where you wrote your first poem begins to glow in your mind's eye. It is as if gold has been discovered. When someone deeply listens to you, your bare feet touch the earth, and a beloved land that seemed distant is now a home within you. That which seemed distant, who is that? The other, right? That distant land that seemed far is often, well, let's say always, a delusion. Let's say always a delusion, and now becomes home. Right? We understand this, don't we? So beautifully. And they spoke to it, I believe, so beautifully. And so when we talk about wise speech, we're going to now talk about the awakened heart speaking. The awakened heart speaking. What if every communication included, essentially expressed that, the awakened heart? And that was the path. And that all the conversations about who, what, where, why, when simply nurtured the potential for that awakened heart, right? The heart to awaken, right? The who, what, where, why, whatever we're talking about. And so deep listening becomes the essential requirement, doesn't it, for wise speech? Because otherwise, what would you be speaking from? And then again, the Zen would use words like silence. Well, yes, the space in which I was opening to include first myself, because if I don't know me, I can't see the lens through which I'm opening to include you, and then offering with, look at the humility, the generosity, the regard in that, right? The humility, I'm going to give this up for just getting you, for hearing you, for understanding something about you, not as anything about me. Even when, and we have 40 years of practice in this, even when you're making a whole bunch of you statements. Can I hear every you as your pain? As your pain? As your fear? As your dented cup? Said Jeff Fox, without going, oh, something about me. I've got to fix that. I've got to write that. I've got to push that back on you. You got to take that home. I'm not taking that bread with me. So you got to own it. So like you back. And then we look at every failed conversation and we understand something, right? Because anytime ego comes to the party, there really is no conversation, folks. Don't mistake it. I don't care how beautiful the word lineup, and I know how to do it. Doesn't have much to do with really being present and available, does it? Not really. It's just I'm going to be able to say this in a way that's going to completely shut you down, or it's going to completely make you feel like it's all your fault, or it's going to, right? Even when the intent for oneself is not clear. It's just I'm in pain too. I'm scared too. I'm overwhelmed too. I don't know what to do either. I don't know how to hold my own distress, and I certainly now don't know how to hold yours. Now, if we could say that, we'd be going a long way towards wise speech, couldn't we? Which is, I really want to hear you, and I'm noticing I'm having a hard time hanging on to my own body, hanging on just here. And so we might have to take some breaths, right? De escalate or stabilize, take a walk and come back. Say nothing and just be can be a beautiful practice. Like words may not be most useful here, right? Sometimes I can get couples, not often, which is a little bit revealing, to just turn towards each other, breathe, and then sometimes we can practice what we call shared breath. We cannot even touch yet. I can't even get a partner to take the other's hand in the fear, in the pain. Do we now not know how separate we have constructed this? I can hardly turn towards you. I certainly can't put my heart towards you. I can't put my eyes on you. And I certainly can't touch you because then the reality of our interconnectedness and interbeing blows us up, right? We can barely do it. So, wise speech is very little, isn't it? Now we're understanding about good words, right words, choice of words before we set the heart mind correctly, and then we deeply listen first. Where am I available? Can I be present? Am I just here to win or to assert my goodness, which is a type of winning, isn't it? To assert my own goodness. Just so you know, I'm good, you're not, which is always what that ends up saying. The minute you go into I, you've constructed the you're not in it. Can we see this? The very second you went, but and I do it all the time. But I didn't, I'm not, well, nobody cares. This is a ridiculous, right? I'm just defending, propping, whatever we call it ourselves, and what's happening. The other's going, like, I'm not even in the room with you. I've got somebody unmuted just to make sure we're checking that. I want to check back just one more minute before we go forward. We're understanding this, right? And remember, without harshness, without judgment, this is big, deep practice. Just recognizing where and then inviting and cultivating. Remember, bhavana, the potential for us to practice this in our everyday lives is gigantic. Look at the privilege that
So
we
I have a
have.
question. So I'm good at capturing after the fact, right? I can always reflect and catch, oh, there it was again, right? One aspect was tooting of one's own horn, right? I some comments made about, oh, you toot your own horn. Now I understand where that comes from. I understand this that voice that says you're not good enough makes the other voice go, look what I did, look how good I am, look, I was right here. So I'm good at seeing that after the fact. So is it helpful to then sit and attend to, even if at a different moment that that negative voice isn't there? I don't have the you piece of garbage arising right now, but is it helpful then? This is where I get stuck. Like, what type of, do I need a different practice to attend to that voice? Or do I keep doing the things we're doing? And when that voice comes up, I just keep going, oh, there's that voice again screaming, you piece of garbage. And then again, come back to the present moment, see how the body is. That, I guess my question's in a small, is that practice enough for that?
All practice is enough because
Okay.
the practice
Okay.
by its nature implies consciousness.
Okay.
So then what could you do, you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, recognizing the diminishing voice
Right.
that resulted in the promoting
Right.
voice
Right.
was, of course, look at that beautiful cause and effect.
Yeah.
You're recognizing,
Right.
oh, this didn't just come up.
Right.
This came up from your piece of garbage,
Yeah.
believed thoughts.
Right.
How can I catch that
Right.
sooner?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Is there body quality that comes up before? Is there, I gotta say this about me?
Yeah.
In the hunger,
Right.
like I better get it in there.
Yeah.
You better promote.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's something happening the moments before the promoting that likely feels tight,
Well, there's
pained,
the
something.
first thing I feel is the pride, right?
Yeah.
Got that right. Oh, look how I got that right. That
Yes.
swelling of, and
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, the tail end of that is that, no, right? You're the garbage behind it, pushing that, look what I got right, forward and out, up and out.
Isn't all arrogance truly deficiency revealing itself? Right.
Yeah.
All of it. Insecurity and not enoughness.
Right. But I am catching it afterwards, like, oh, I saw that.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole set of body experience that you're numb to just now.
Yeah.
Though you hear yourself eventually,
right.
and then probably drop into the body.
Right.
So what's the practice? Well, always body centered first, body centered before the words, right? To go, ooh, there's a whole big thing going. Say it! Say it. Joseph Goldstein has a lot of fun conversations with himself that he shared about really feeling the I'm going. And it's not because it's right timing, there's no space for it. It's just some self-promoting element. And we all have it and we all do it. And there is a body to it. There's a whole body experience to that. You can feel it's energetic. And then out it comes, and often not known yet until, well, there's like 25 I, me, me's in there, or look at me, which will always cause harm because it came from a place of insecurity and deficiency, right? And we know this. And it's all the same for us all. There are no exceptions in this. These are the essential truths, the relative truths, right? And if there was a Dzogchen practitioner sitting here, they'd be laughing, saying, we simply forget our Buddha nature. And they would be correct also. Now, I have no idea what to do with that. I don't know. Except to go, yes, and except in that moment, some old karmic momentum, pattern, habit, fear is winning. And can I just be kind, receiving, accepting, knowing of that? Okay, let's go on.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have found that what people mostly want is to be heard, to be listened to. It conveys validation that they're important. They're not going to say that, but that's what they really need inside. And so
Renee.
Yes, all of us. Yeah. But what I'm saying is when I have a conversation with somebody and they're going through something, instead of me wanting, I need to get myself out of the way of what I want to say to them to console them. And then they're going to think I'm a really good listener. No. Get that out of the way. It's not about you, Renee. look at this person, what they really need is to be heard. And if I'm grounded enough in myself to just be okay with that, not needing to validate myself, like I'm a good person, I'm a good listener, then I can do that. And I will feel good too that maybe I've given something to this person just by listening.
It's quite the gift, isn't it? I don't know if there's a bigger one. One's time, energy, attention that is now not wrapped up in some propagating of one's self, and how meaningful. And that is all, every moment then of kindness was that. Somebody wasn't going, what about me, or I need to. And then our communications also follow. That's exactly right. And we're all the same in this. We're all the same in this. And so it is good for us to remember that. So thank you. This is all the teaching offers us, is can the I in me, with humility, it says, with generosity, with kindness and compassion, hold myself, not get rid of myself. It is a misunderstanding, because you need you to be able to hear the other. You have to truly show up the whole you. It isn't like get rid of you and then listen. It's like bring all of you, your own tender heart, your own deep listening desires, right? We don't have to get rid of it. We could know all the more the truth of what another needs by our very needs, by our very nature, right? This is the way to understanding our interbeing and interconnectedness. You, just like me, want to be seen, heard, and regarded as sufficient, as good, as kind, who we really are, says the Dzogchen. Thank you. The Buddha said this: monks, or us, practitioners, one who is skilled in speaking speaks at the right time, speaks what is true, speaks what is gentle, speaks what is beneficial, and speaks with a mind of loving kindness. One who is skilled in speaking speaks at the right time, speaks what is true, speaks what is gentle, non-harsh, speaks what is beneficial, and speaks with a mind of loving kindness. Of course, we know these rubric and try to practice it. Is it useful? Can it be a benefit? Not just to one, but to both. These are considerations that are occurring through wise view and wise intention that lead naturally then to this capacity for deep listening and then speaking. This sutta passage came from the Abhaya Sutta, and Abhaya was a prince who the Buddha, who is having some difficulty in communicating well. And these were the instructions from the Buddha to Prince Abhaya. Can we consider this before speaking? Jack Kornfield says, the key to listening and speaking wisely is the intention. Our intention to learn, to discover, to hear something that we didn't understand the moment before. Just to collect more depth of understanding. Thich Nhat Hanh says, much of our suffering comes from wrong perception, that we have already separated me from you, you from me, us from the truth of our humanness, our pain, our fear, and our wish to be heard, said Renee, and seen. We have already constructed something that now requires a bridge. right? When in fact, there is no truth in it. There is no separation at all. Their pain is your pain is theirs, and we all know it. We all know it. The intention of deep listening, says Thich Nhat Hanh, and loving speech is to restore interconnection, to get back to the truth of it. Can I remain present? Can I stay long enough to understand my own intent, my own needs, my own desires, and then construct the wholesome desire to be present for us both, right? And listening then deeply to what first? Our own bodies is number one. Our own facial expressions. My face reveals everything. If I'm going, right, like, I don't know, probably not. Can we know where our attention is? Is it on the other? Or is it actually just in review of the speech we're about to prepare? Where is our presence? Are we here completely? Or are we reviewing past wrongs? And then what is the intention? Right? These are all the interior inquiries that are important. How does the heart become wise and skillful? Well, the Buddha's simple answer was attention. How does the heart become wise and skillful? One answer: attention. We listen not only with our ears then, but with our whole heart mind beings, right? The ears just become one element. All right, I think we might have enough in hand. I'm going to check back before we practice to see how we're doing. Makes sense? Any other key questions before we practice? I think I hear someone, maybe. Oh, here's something I did want to say since we're creating a little space for questions. Perhaps the greatest obstacle to wise speech is the belief that one is certain. That you know something, rather than that there is something more to be known. Something more to be known. That there must be an inadequacy of understanding information if there is a sense of separation, right? That means we're goofed up. We're not seeing this clearly at all. And then we go into the certainty of what? It's you that is not present, not listening, not available, not, as we are constructing that very argument. We also are not available. As when we cannot listen, where there is not sufficient attention, right? Remember the Buddha said one word, attention is the factor. Where there is not attention to me and or to you, what? The heart closes naturally, defensively, protectively, because now this is dangerous. This is now dangerous. By the way, it is only dangerous for you based on your attention, not the others. Because with your attention, you would even see that the other is not home. And then we could act as skillfully as possible in regard to us both. And what did we say on Saturday? It does not mean the other likes you. It does not mean the other is home enough to be able even to receive this yet. And with your fine attention, you would also see this. Not now. right? It doesn't mean it's not possible. It doesn't mean it can't happen. And by the way, it can happen because it can always happen with you and your understanding. Wait a minute. Even if the other doesn't see it, even if they never agree, even if they never take ownership, I can see. Because what do I know about that for me? That's my pain. That's my fear. That's my not wanting to be wrong, deficient, and bad. So much so that I'd be willing to, right, as has been told in many sutta stories, kill the other. Isn't this what the ego does over and over? The ego's requirement is not only to support itself, it supports itself by diminishing the other. Right. And then in seeing it, we can say, can I remember the vulnerability, the tenderness, the pain, and the confusion in me? Right? Not if you just shut up, this would all be better. It's not true. It is true that you may have to attend. Remember the Buddha's one word, attention. Attention is required. And then very possibly, I believe, towards oneself. I have to just stay here right now, not climb over into what you're doing and how you did it. And if you'd only done it right, then we wouldn't be here. And it doesn't mean that others are skillful. We don't accuse ourselves or others of this. But it does mean one skillful act in a difficult and unskillful communication changes everything. Oh, does it mean the argument stops? Yes, if you stopped. Yes, if you stopped. Because it can't go on without you. It doesn't mean the pain's not there. It doesn't mean the fear's not there. It doesn't mean others' words aren't there. But it cannot be propagated. It's literally just spraying off into space. Right? Nothing to just holding. Knowing suffering is suffering. Knowing pain is pain. Knowing confusion as confusion. Knowing fear as fear. Could you say that? Yes, you could. And not knowing it over there, right? Because this is knowing it right here. Knowing it right here. The intent of deep listening and loving speech is to create that mutual understanding and peace that reminds us what? Of our interconnection, interbeing. Always. Whether you talk to the person again or you don't. Doesn't change its reality at all, does it? Okay, so let's get ready to practice. So if wise resolve helps us see clearly, wise intention inclines the whole heart, deep listening then creates space in that heart. For what? Understanding the truth of our interconnection, our interbeing, and our essential need, right? For each other. And then wise speech or communication becomes the essential thread, maybe the essential thread and expression of that awakened heart. Resting in silence, remember, which is not empty of phenomenon, not empty of wishes, hopes, thoughts, fears. But we are placing attention in the open space to anchor ourselves, and that includes the open space not only around you, but of your own awakened heart mind. With the strike of the bell, we listen beyond the ears. I'll ring the bell again. We listen with the whole heart, mind, body. As we place attention, we clear the field. Can we stay and breathe? Listening with our whole being. And we're going to let the sound of the bell dissolve into the experience of the effortless and gentle breath. Continuation. Now the breath itself. Noticing that the breath is happening within that vast open space of you. We clear all constructions. We let all objects simply arise and pass in the background. We feel the connectedness to the earth, to the space, to each other. No obstacles. We breathe in fully and breathe out fully. Seeing if you can't, as you breathe, maybe recollecting a moment where there was no sense of separation, a connection, a communion, a being with. And see if you can remember and remind the body, let the body remind you what that felt like. Where in the body do you notice this connectedness? I can feel a fairly vast open space around the heart, a freedom in the breath, a sense of being held. Someone who has been able to allow our being, however we are, pained, scared, lonely, grief-stricken, sad. And then see if you notice that it was certainly not the words alone, or maybe the words at all, that communicated that sense of presence, of staying, of connection. Very likely not in the words alone, but in the depth of the quality of attention and being. This may feel a lot to the ego like doing nothing, and it is not true. It is the greatest being. It may not feel like a doing, and this would be good news. Because anytime we're in doing, we are no longer offering attention, our whole being and attention to ourselves or to another. Notice that there is no agenda. There's nothing that needs to be done. There's a sense of safety, and that's something you're cultivating by your presence. You're being in your own body, heart, mind. And see if you can feel what's happening inside your own heart. Or in the quality of the breath itself. The ease or tightness of the body, the muscles. See if we can completely hold ourselves, deeply listening. See if you don't notice a certain level of equanimity, of ease, of refuge here. And then we're going to begin to gently shift our attention. Maybe expand is a better word. Expanding this sense of holding, of staying, of presence, of this fine and loving attention offered to oneself. We're going to see if we can't recollect for a moment a slightly challenging or difficult or confused communication with another, and see if we cannot continue to cultivate these qualities within oneself as we review this conversation with deep listening. There is nothing for us to say. Can I breathe with? Can I stay present? Can I continue to cultivate wishes for ease, for well-being, for connection, for understanding by this quality of being with another, deeply listening beyond the ears? Watch for the habit to propagate or define the other in some solid and fixed way. It's not true. We may perceive the other as angry, as unavailable, as wanting to be right. It doesn't mean it has not occurred. It means that is not their Buddha nature. That is not who we're talking to, and not who we're listening to. We're listening to one's Buddha nature and the reality of this human experience. Confusion, pain, anger. And we know it by heart. And can we open ourselves so completely in this listening that our own hearts inform us? Because we know this experience. We know this anger, this sadness, this loneliness. We know this confusion, this doubt. We know this wish for safety. And we can breathe it in. From our own stable minds and bodies, our own open heart, we can open to the complete reality of the truth of suffering, not only the others, but our own, and the wish for its end. And this is often where the Tonglen practice naturally unfolds. From the truth of our interbeing, our interconnectedness, we breathe in and out, oneself to the other to oneself, and then we notice that there is simply one breath, breathing the truth of our interbeing. I know this pain. I know this confusion. I know this injury. And not establishing any requirement, this is where we jump ahead, to do anything, to be anything just yet, but open, receptive, present, and available to this experience with another. There is enough space, there is enough silence, there is enough interconnectedness and regard to hold us. There's nothing to defend, there's no advice, there's nothing to explain or judge. If you notice these habits, just know we have fallen a little into some perception and delusion of separation. This is simply an old conditioned pattern. We can exhale softly and begin again. There is no fixer. There is no one who needs to be right. There is nothing to accomplish other than being present to the reality of our connection. And as Jack Kornfield said, what is it I need to understand that I have not yet understood? We open with curiosity and inquiry. What do I need to understand that I have not yet understood, that I see you, the other, as separate? Not me, not like me. And we don't try to answer that. We're just creating a space for opening. We let our certainty of the other's wrongness, badness, difference begin to soften and fall away. It's not true. It's never true. And then we turn inward once again, and we offer these very qualities of listening to ourselves. How am I right now? As I have practiced opening, receiving, being with, staying wholly present, and staying breath by breath. How am I right now? How is this body? What do I notice about qualities of mind? Am I present? Am I here? Can I stay? And just listening as you did to the dear friend. All wisdom is formed through listening. And so may I listen both to myself and to others with an open and present heart. May I see beyond my own certainties, my own truths, my own perceptions. And from that deep listening, may I speak whatever words are spoken through understanding. And may I let it guide me in whatever I say or do. May my speech always be an act of kindness, compassion, wisdom. May I regard the conditions for wise speech and consider them before speaking. And may I know that in this way I am acting with and for peace for us all. May there be peace. May we live and breathe peace. And may this practice contribute. And so the practices, of course, are very similar We're going to be practicing deep listening by creating that pause, right? That same pause, but we're not just now attending to what's happening here. We're seeing if once we anchor, note something about that, we can create a larger container, a more open space for extending that same deep listening that we have just offered ourselves to the other. And we're going to do that first without language. There's nothing to say first. Um, we can say something simple, like tell me more, right? Just to create the signal for I'm available. There's space here for this. Uh, and we are cultivating those qualities of curiosity, open heartedness. And remember, we cannot do so for another if we are scattered, if we are disconnected from ourselves. And so this listening to ourselves becomes, of course, the first practice, right? What's happening in my own body? What emotions are present here? What's the story I'm telling? I got to say this. I got to say it now. If I don't say it now, I'm not going to get to say it. And then the right thing, which is always a perception, cannot occur. And so this compulsion, right? Impulsion becomes wins. And then we're out there before we even know what we're doing. And then we can choose a conversation in which we try to simply bring the wish for understanding, at least one conversation for understanding only. We're not trying to win, get anything, just a practice. I just want to get this. We don't interrupt. We don't try to, it's not speaking. We don't have a response. It isn't, oh, well, here's what I can offer you. In this, we are simply present, open, non-interrupting, one a day, whatever that conversation might be. And then if you can, you will catch yourself. If you're really there, you might catch yourself in a moment of reactivity. Oh, or said it anyway. And see if we can't simply allow, right? This is just habits and old, and then see if we can't feel for ourselves. And see if you can figure out what it is you're feeling. I'm uncomfortable. I don't know how to hold the space. Um, there's really, I'm interpreting something I feel like needs
I need to
fix it, often correct the other one, right, out of my not feeling understood and not agreeing with what the person might be saying. That can be very activating. Like, what? This isn't, why are we even talking? This isn't even true. And then can we cultivate that sacred pause, I'll call it? Non-interruption, one breath at a time, that's it. No defending, no trying to win, get anything. And then in the evening, right, we're always reflecting. What was it I was able to deeply hear? What new understanding do I have that I didn't have? I now see or saw the person's pain or fear or distress in a way that I had just been rejecting and refusing. And what assumptions can I begin to dismantle about because I'm constructing misperceptions as well. And they are always based on assumptions, right? And then see if we can't allow ourselves to be surprised, right? Like, oh, didn't know. Wow. And that will lead to greater understanding. If this is how we speak, if this is how we listen, how then shall we live? And that becomes the next noble eightfold path. How then shall we live? What is right action? From that deep understanding, cultivated from that deep listening. Let's see if we have anything in chat.
I just thought of something I'm going to try to do. Because I had an interaction with a coworker yesterday and realized how my own thoughts about things, I didn't really check those before I let them come out of my mouth. So she let me know her mother is doing the dignified death. And the first thing, of course, out of my mouth is, good for her. Now reflecting this in my meditation, thinking, like, that was like probably the worst thing I could have possibly said for this poor woman, because as soon as I thought about my own father and losing my own father, how much that hurt and the deep sadness, like, ugh, and we talked longer and, but I noticed that in my whole conversation with her, there was a need to make her feel better, to make her feel okay, when that's fucking impossible. That's fucking ridiculous. So my thought was to start, anytime someone says something, for me to take that in as if it was mine, right? For me to think, my mother is deciding to end her own life, before I even think about what I would say to that,
yes.
Right? Or to be the person who is frustrated about, what do you mean there's no resources to go, if I needed to understand or get out something, for me to feel that there's no resources for X, Y, and Z, I think is going to be helpful, rather than just, for me, just the pause. I'm going to maybe remember to take that, to go, wait, let me think about my parent deciding to end their own life.
Not having your parent.
Right.
Which is what you made contact.
Oh, for the parent, right? I know she was right in a chair
She's
forever.
in suffering, right.
That suffering to end.
Right.
Rather than feel for the person who's also going to be emotionally,
pained.
Yes, by that.
Pained. How to open to that pain. And of course, it is something we're all avoiding, because who wants that? And it's self-protective, other protective as well, except there's no getting around it. And there is no protection for it, is there? There is no protection for the realities of loss, of grief, of fear, of pain. We aren't fixing anything. We can heal by opening ourselves. And then we have to be very kind to ourselves, don't we? Because we've all said it wrong, infinitely more times likely than we've said it right. And that's not because we didn't care. It's because we couldn't see clearly.
Right.
It was because our own pain vaulted forward, or our own need to get this resolved, or right. And so let's be very mindful that we will have to bring infinite compassion to ourselves before. Right, we can do that. And from doing that, I have confidence in whatever happens.
Right.
With that. And then Marie says, I think we're getting ready to end. What if someone is not talking? So then we let them not talk. We just help them know that there is a space for holding them however they are in non-speaking, because we're communicating infinitely every moment. And not speaking is one of those ways. So it isn't that we're not communicating. We might be communicating a fear, a pain, a lack of safety. I don't think you're going to understand me. So there is a shutdown, a resistance, or a withdrawal. We all know this too, don't we? Like, nothing. What do you got? Nothing. I'm not going there. I don't have it to say because it doesn't feel safe. It feels too scary. And usually when we are digging for someone to speak, it doesn't often work. The space creating, but I'm here and ready to listen whenever you're ready to speak, is about the best we can offer. And remember, whatever you come up with from that cultivated heart mind, I have complete confidence in. because it is a cultivated heart mind, not a getting anything right that's going to, right? It's that quality that's going to ultimately, I don't mean win as in egoically, but contribute and be of benefit to us both. I think we're probably close to time, if not over. We're right there. So I'm going to get ready to say the prayer. This conversation will go on endlessly because it's in every facet of our lives, and beautifully so. Look at the opportunity we have just once in a day. If we could just be there to listen with intention, on purpose, see what that changes for you, not the other. Look at the difference now in you. Yeah. Challenging situations are the best work. And remember, without that capacity for presence and listening, that won't matter what you say. And it won't matter how well you say it. And I can say this with a lot of confidence. With a lot of confidence. Okay. And so let's gather ourselves, come back to the body, recollecting our intentions. And remember, I'm not so worried about you reminding yourself with words. Feel the possibility for greater peace, ease, wholeness, connection, staying. It's huge. And then gathering that good heart into our hands in whatever way we do. Holding it for oneself and for others, and then ultimately for all beings. And offering this heart with these words. May I be a guard for those who need protection, a guide for those on the path, a boat, a raft, a bridge for those who wish to cross the flood. May I be a lamp in the darkness, a resting place for the weary, a healing medicine for all who are sick, a vase of plenty, a tree of miracles. And for the boundless multitudes of living beings, may I bring sustenance and awakening, enduring like the earth and the sky, until all beings are freed from sorrow and all are awakened. May we all be happy. May we all be free from pain and suffering, both internal, external, and both. May we remember our good fortune and cultivate the capacity to share our blessings and to be joyful for the blessings of others. May we rest and dwell in this vast, open, infinite space that holds us all, free of all hatred, free of all greed, free of confusion, delusion, and ignorance, seeing clearly the realities of our interconnectedness and interbeing. May this practice today be of benefit, not only for ourselves, but for all beings. So be it. Blessings to you all. Thank you all for being here. Deep listening is a deep conversation, often without words. And so we're going to be practicing that together. Lynn, it's lovely to see you. I hope your mother is well and okay.
Thank you. She left the hospital yesterday, and every fall she's taken in the last 2 years has taken a little more out of her. So we're just all doing our best, taking care of her, and I'll be going out there relatively soon.
Good, good. I'm glad you'll be able to
Yeah,
be there with her. You know, the falls take it out of us all because we see harder to get up, a little harder to stay up, and then the next one,
yeah.
and the realities of that for us all. So just know we are all with you. Many of us, if not all of us, know that tender heart uh, and are holding you and your mother. What's your mother's first name?
Nancy,
Nancy.
yes.
We are wishing Nancy well, ease, and freedom from any pain.
Thank you.
Yes, be well, everyone. Greg will be here on Thursday. He has returned from his several weeks. He'll be uh, guiding this Thursday at 7 a.m. And we will be together both in the garden and on Zoom this Saturday as we now start to turn towards wise action. What then do we do
Mm.
with the realities of this wise view, wise intention, deep listening, and wise speech? What then do we do? And I look forward to being with you all. The last few Saturdays in the garden have been delightful. So if you can make it to join us, we would love to have you. All right, everyone, be well. Blessings to all. And get to see you soon. Take care.
Take care, everybody. Thank you again.
Thank you, Carmi. Good to hear you. Be well, everyone.